What I wanted to build was like a Jarvis from Iron Man.
It's not just a note-taking app that you're capturing over here, right? You're capturing everyone's individual layer of memory.
People who don't start capturing their life today are going to have a disadvantage over people who start capturing.
Are you going to resurrect someone who is deceased in a way that you can actually install the context and have a live animated human being talking to you?
The TwinMind can be the memory agent for every other agent that does all your tasks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have someone truly extraordinary with us today. Let me introduce Daniel George, a man who completed his PhD at the age of 24 in record time, became a millionaire by the age of 27, and is now the CEO of a 60 million AI startup at just 30. Daniel didn't just follow one path. He was part of the Nobel Prize winning LEGO team that detected gravitational waves, led AI projects at Google X Moonshot Factory, built state-of-the-art trading systems at JP Morgan, and automated his own VP job using AI. Now he's building TwinMind, an AI note taker and a personal memory manager that captures everything. Daniel, welcome to AI Biz Club. We are incredibly excited to have you here.
Thank you, Ashwin, for the really flattering intro. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for everybody for coming.
So before we dive into Daniel's journey, let me give you a quick walkthrough of TwinMind. So think of TwinMind as an AI second brain and a personal memory manager. It's an AI note taker that captures everything during your meetings, lectures, and conversations, then turns that into actionable insights. What makes it really unique is it transcribes in real time across 100 plus languages, works completely offline for privacy, and gives you personalized suggestions based on everything it's learned about you. My favorite part is where you can sync seamlessly from mobile to desktop, capture meeting notes on your phone, and then get AI generated follow-up emails on your laptop. It generates study guides from lectures, tracks action items from conversations, and answers questions before you even think to ask them. The privacy is bulletproof. Audio is never recorded, just processed on the device with all the data stored locally. And you know what's really impressive? TwinMind just set new industry record with their Year 3 model, achieving the world's most accurate speech recognition at 5.26% error rate and supporting 140 plus languages. Congratulations to you and your team, Daniel, on this incredible achievement in a very short duration.
Thank you. Thank the whole team for working on this for the last year. But yeah, like it's actually free right now. So anybody, if you have audio files or you want to like capture, we are like giving it away for free for the next few months. So it's available at the twinmind.com website. And yeah, excited to get any feedback. If any of you have any issues or like ways that we can improve, I'd love to hear the feedback.
So Daniel, so which course or class did you take that made you realize enough with this note taking or the traditional way? I need to reinvent the notebook entirely from scratch. What was that initial spark within you?
So I actually didn't start off like trying to build a AI note-taking app. What I wanted to build was like a Jarvis from Iron Man. Since I think 2010 or whenever the Iron Man movie came out, that's like the vision of AI that I had. That one day we will have this like AI that just is always on, always by your side, listens to everything that is going on in your life, and it even helps you before you ask, right? Why should I have to ask every time and like explain the whole story? The AI of the future should know all the context and proactively help you. So this is the vision I had, but then like if it never happened, even when ChatGPT came out, it was just this little text box that you like have to type in everything. You have to give it, attach all the files and all the relevant information to solve the problem. You have to explain like a gigantic prompt with all the data you need and tell it like if you want to do an assignment or whatever, you have to give it all the story of what the professor said, like what are the relevant files, like what are the thoughts that you had before, like conversations or meetings you had related to that project. You have to keep putting all of that in every time. That was a really frustrating experience. Um, and this is nothing like Jarvis. Like Iron Man is not like telling Jarvis every meeting he ever had, right? He just knows. So we wanted to build that. So that's why I convinced my co-founders who I met at Google. So we had been working together on this AI trading app before. So I had experience working with them and I was pitching these ideas, like what, and they got really excited. They're like, yeah, this is like what we should build. So we thought like nobody's doing it. There is no AI that just listens to your whole life. So why not do it and then try to build Jarvis? So that's how we started.
Wow.
And then
So
on the journey to build it, we wanted to build an app that can at least capture your meeting notes and lectures and your conversations and talk your conversations with friends, family, all of that. So that's why we started by building the core functionality, which is to like record in a very stable way, preserving your privacy without killing your battery at a cost that at a really low cost, so you can leave it on all day if you want. To make capturing your notes about meetings lectures like a normal thing, because nobody's doing it. There's no other app that people is like a major app that everybody uses to take notes about meetings in real life.
right, it totally makes sense. Like, instead of going all the way from like to create a note making app from the start, you had the idea of having like a twin mind, literally a second brain. And then the major important part of it was context injection. So the easiest path to follow was to take a note making app where in which you capture everything that you can record your like a normal conversation or like a lecture or even meetings. I personally used it for my last internship for all the meetings, and I even personally experienced when the other employers had their Firefly or Otter that creeping into your chat and just stay over there before even the human beings were present. It was kind of really weird. And I did not have any footprints like that because my app was working on my browser and personally to me, and it whatever it suggested to me in real time, none of the other apps did have that feature, to be very honest.
Yeah.
But so I assume you started working on this product before ChatGPT got released, right?
No, we actually started working on it in 2023. So after ChatGPT came out, like we were like, oh yeah, but this is just like a little text box I have to type in. This is kind of like reminded me of like in 1980s, you had all these like DOS, Unix, all these things which had like a command prompt and you had to write all these prompts in there to, but then like when Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all came up with like the Windows and Mac and everything, it completely changed it and became like a much more user friendly and like usable thing. So we wanted to build an AI that's kind of like that. It just is like not this like prompt that you have to write all day.
The biggest aspect that I love about TwinMind is how easy it is to use, right? It is not having huge amount of features in terms of like complicating things, right? It does very simple job and it does really, really well. And that's something that I usually do not find in much of the products that I end up using. It is always overwhelming with you, a lot of features that you might not end up using at all.
And we actually wanted to make something that preserves your memories, right? Because I talk to my parents every day. They tell me stories about their childhood, and like even in like languages like that no other app works in. Like I talk to them in Malayalam, so I'm from Kerala. So like no app at the time understood Malayalam and transcribed it and captured those things. So we had to build it from scratch because just to make it work in these languages. And all these memories are otherwise lost. Like the stories my parents told me from 10 years ago, it's gone forever. Like they might have forgotten it, I might have forgotten it, right? So, and my grandparents and all that. So we want to also preserve every memory, every story that anyone has ever told you. All these funny moments you had, like great conversations you had with your spouse or your co-workers or friends. So I want to like also preserving these moments is also another aspect. And
That's
this
awesome.
is also as AI gets better and better, you will eventually be able to like use all this data. So people who start capturing this data today will have a huge advantage because in like 2 years as AI gets smarter and smarter, you can even like clone these people. You can like have a conversation with your great grandmother or whatever based on all this data you have with all the data that you have collected about this person.
Excellent. So I myself is from Kerala as well. And
Yeah.
I understand like it's so difficult for when technology comes in intersection with Malayalam, how it needs to be transcribed. Like we speak so fast in our native language, right? And like now I'm gonna use it for my personal like the tip that you gave. I think it's pretty much valid as well because almost all the things that my mom tells I keep on forgetting. So I think we can use this for this memory saving part of it. Um, but so when you had this idea, what was the first thing that you did? So
So I think we had this idea. So the first thing we want to see is like, can we hack together something that's usable? Like even before, like I think somebody had this great advice, right? Which is like even before you, I think it was Zuckerberg or someone was saying this, even before you start a company, you should actually just think of it as a project. Like build something yourself, maybe with your friends, and actually see if it's useful. So when I was at JP Morgan, I was like, I think you mentioned I was traveling to all these countries. I was working remotely. I was having all these meetings all the time, and I was like, why not like have build something that listens to those meetings and writes my code for me? And ChatGPT had just come out, but I had to explaining the entire project to ChatGPT took a long time. So I just built this little script that just captured my like I ran it on my iPad and like it captured the entire meeting, transcribed it into text, and then made a ChatGPT API call at the end of the meeting that said, and it also fetched the current code base and asked it to make the changes. Based on the meeting, all the bugs reported or issues our project manager was saying, and the features we wanted to build, plus the existing code, just go into the ChatGPT API, and it generates a thing. And that script was actually pretty useful. So I gave it to my friends. They started using it, and and then I posted about it on an app called Blind, which is like a Reddit for like tech employees and like work like anonymous platform. And that post went viral. Like hundreds of people were commenting saying they want this tool. So then I realized that this is something people want because they want to like automate a lot of the boring aspects of their job. And companies at the time wouldn't like weren't like supporting AI tools. They had even banned these tools. So like this thing actually can run on your phone, on your iPad. Uh, Even if it doesn't have access to your code, it's still useful. If so, I said like I asked people how much are they willing to pay. I did like an anonymous survey, and over 250 people on Blind voted that they're about 68% voted that they would pay like $20 for this thing that listened to meetings and wrote their code, or during meetings told them what to say so that they would sound like the smartest person in the interview or like meeting with your manager. So there was like real demand for this product. This was in 2023. So then I was like, okay, there's real demand and my friends are all using it. And I was able to save a lot of time and I was able to travel to all these places and like have spent less time coding. And this AI, while the AI was writing code for me. And I was getting great performance reviews and my friends were getting, they were like able to do the same work in like, like 20% of
So
the time. So then I realized I want to start this company. So then Y Combinator is actually a great uh, process
so
to go through, even if you don't get in. Or like we actually got an interview, but we didn't get in because we had just started. We had the idea to build the script together in like a week or two. We just applied to YC just for fun. So to go through that process, you have to find co-founders. You have to like fill in the whole form. You have to have your idea, your market. There's some
so
you
so
have to have the idea, you have to have like the market, the who's your customer, target audience, like how is your go-to-market strategy, what are you plan, how are you going to monetize it? You have to go through that process. So YC forces you to think about everything and set up a team of co-founders, create a video, pitch, and like talk to your co-founders about equity splitting and all of that stuff. So going through that process, we got through the first stage, we got an interview. They said we were too early, asked us to apply the next batch. But by then, we had already figured all this out. So we just went and talked to investors directly. Uh, and turns out it was a great thing. We got funding at a much higher valuation than what YC gives you. So being rejected was amazing because YC, I think, takes 7% for $125,000. And they give you another $375,000 at your next round valuation. So together, they get about 10% for giving you $500,000.
mhm.
We actually ended up directly talking to investors right after we got rejected from YC. We were all three of us were Google founder, ex-Google founders, so it helped. So we were able to actually raise, I think, for 10%, we got 2.5 million instead of 500,000. So that ended up being a great deal. We did not give up so much equity to YC. And so by the time the next batch came, our valuation was already too high.
Wow. So, so is it like safe to say that like you need to have like a good co-founding team, and also a proper prototype for you to go and pitch to an investor and making sure that they come on board and invest in your product and believe in your journey,
Yeah.
right?
I think the easiest way to raise money is to have a product that is like a cool product that the investor can actually try it out. You don't have to spend so much time on your pitch deck. If you actually put together something, it doesn't have to be the final version, but something that feels like cool and useful and like magical. Like if your investor asks me a question and the answer just pops up, uh, that is already a cool enough demo.
I actually used this similar way in my internship as well because we have all these meetings, and I was a data analyst in a digital health platform, and writing queries and building a warehouse and automating a lot of reporting on BigQuery. All these things were like my responsibilities involved. But then initially, before I started using TwinMind again, I screen record every meeting individually and painstakingly go second by second, and then install context into ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever tool that I'm using, and then hoping that the context never runs out. If the context runs out, then I do the same thing over to the next window. Then I started using, I mean, I obviously was aware about TwinMind, but they didn't strike my mind and I had to start using it. And immediately I started using it, it just solved every single from the start till the end of all the process. And I was using it to create my entire implementation, everything all by
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so it actually creating that first, like explaining this to people is hard, whereas showing them is like the best way to do it. And I think that's how Perplexity, all these companies raised their first round. They just created a prototype and they just showed it to the investor and they liked it and they played around with it. So that's a great way to do it. And so another hard thing to do is like I also had to quit. I quit my job because as part of the YC process, they require you to quit your job. So taking that big leap, it was also like most people don't want to do it, right? Because once you're at a company and you're like getting paid a high salary, like nobody wants to quit. It's hard. You'll be like, oh, I'll do it next week or maybe next month, maybe one day. So having a clear deadline to apply also made a big
That's
difference.
true. Yeah, I think maybe
Yeah.
YC would have given you that extreme template or like an entire prioritization where you have to choose between the major comfort zones of your life, and then
Yeah.
you pushed yourself and your entire team, regardless you got it or not. But that process entirely took you to even go behind it, like go for it completely without even thinking about anything else, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it was actually hard to convince. The other hardest thing is to convince co-founders to quit their job too, which in my case, they did not do it until we raised the money. So at least as long as one person is fully committed and joining full time, and then we raise money and then they all quit their jobs too. And I was lucky because I was lucky because I'd already saved enough money. I didn't need to work at the time because I'd been investing every dollar I made since I was a PhD student in like Tesla stock and Nvidia stock and so on. So that
Oh
did
wow.
really well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah.
So
So
that my next question is again about the co-founder, since you
yeah.
already talked about it. How did you find your co-founder, and what were the qualities that you're looking for to get a right co-founder for your company? And then was this before building the prototype, or you have co-founder on board and then you guys build the prototype?
So we, so I initial version, I think I quickly hacked it together, but these co-founders had already been friends with them for 5+ years. So my first co-founder, Sunny, was my junior at University of Illinois. We were both doing our PhD in astrophysics. So I'd met him in 2016. And at the time, I was obsessed with AI. I didn't want to do astrophysics. I wanted to do AI. So I was going around telling everybody, you guys should be working on AI, not on this astronomy stuff. Because I had seen some talk by Ray Kurzweil that said by 2029, AI is going to be smarter than humans. So I was like convinced in 2015. So I was telling all these guys, stop working on astrophysics, let AI do the astrophysics in 10 years, 15 years. AI will just do it. So you can just work on building the AI and let it do the physics later. And nobody was believing me except this one guy. So that was Sunny, my co-founder. And we both
And we
started
both
working
started
on
working on
AI
AI
together.
together.
I think there's an
I think
echo.
there's an echo.
Is
Um,
this
Yeah, you should be
uh,
good now.
Yeah. So we started working on AI instead of astrophysics. We started applying to hackathons, building at the time we were using deep learning with neural like LSTMs and CNNs to do all kinds of little projects. And one of them I ended up applying for my PhD thesis, and that became a big success. So Sunny and I had like been collaborating already back then in 2016. So he also did his PhD on applying AI in astrophysics, and I did that. So then I got an offer from Google. So I went joined Google in 2018, and then Sunny also joined. I referred Sunny, so he also joined as an intern. We worked together at Google X, and that's when we met our third co-founder, and Mahi. So he was also an intern at Google X at the time. So the three of us became friends and like started working on the side project that was like a trading AI to trade stocks. So we already had experience working together from 2009. Sunny and I worked together from 2016. Mahi and I worked together from 2019 onwards, and we started the company in 2023. So I think it's really important to have co-founders that you actually worked together with before, because I think the number one reason startups fail is because of co-founder conflict or like one of them dropping out or disagreements. I think YC says that all the time. Finding the right co-founder. So you at least know the person 1 year.
Again, coming into your product, we touched upon this point about feature prioritization. Like one of the main like drawback or anything for that matter, if you can call that, for like a founder or like somebody who is creating a product, digital product, right? Is it to prioritize on the features? Like we have this entire rush of ideas and rush of features that we can implement a lot. What do you stop? Like when can we know that enough? Like it's time to ship?
I don't think we are even like really good at this. I think TwinMind is on the other side. We built too many features, we built too many products, and I kept making this mistake. Even though I heard, Steve Jobs and all these people and all their videos have said, you should be focused, like only do one thing really well. The most important thing is to say no to all the different features that you could build and really prioritize. But I don't think we did that really well. We ended up building an iPhone app, a Chrome extension in parallel. We build all these different features in our app. It's a really complex app. So that's the problem we're facing right now. We need to make it easy and simple for users to understand. I think right now TwinMind is not really good at that. It is too bloated with features, and it's good for power users, but I don't think it is really good for like a regular new user to learn easily. Other apps like like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Granola, even these note-taking apps like Granola are very easy to understand, even though they have fewer features.
Mhm.
There's one thing they do really well, just a chatbot or like a meeting notes app. It doesn't do all these things like real-time suggestions or like all these like browser context from all the websites that you're looking at. It doesn't have all that, but I think we are trying to now focus more and
Okay.
stop building new features too fast.
That's
Yeah.
great. So, I mean, like, I'm really happy that I can hear that from a established founder of a $60 million valuation startups. Like, even you are struggling with feature prioritization because, like, our creative brains and juices just keeps on flowing, and then we are all testing out different features and figuring out which is our North Star, and then nailing down on one single or maybe a couple of features that works really, really well, right? But in
Yeah.
my use case, I really loved how TwinMind with whatever features that it was, I think it was just exactly the balance that I personally wanted. But then yeah, of course, the
So
metrics would show.
I think this is the other mistake we made. Our entire team were engineers. We all had PhDs in AI and test technical like physics and stuff. So we should have started with more people who had experience like with design. We at least in our founding team, we were like really late hiring designers. Engineers keep like building like really technical products without thinking about it from a user. That's why Steve Jobs was really good. He was working with Wozniak. Wozniak was building all these super complex stuff, but then he had to like come and pull him back and say, make it easy, make it user friendly, polished, looking good, easy to understand. That's why Linux is not as popular as these other products, because Linux is built just like for engineers, right? Developers. Yeah, so whenever engineers build something, has that problem.
It's like the classic Pied Piper case from the show Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
where engineers build and they didn't have any idea how the users are gonna react to it and everything.
So that show is actually a really great show because it is so realistic. Like the it is funny. I'm sure it was started by some founders because all
Yeah.
the scenarios they go through, all the even though it's funny, it's actually so real. Like the in personality of the investors, getting the funding round, the personality of the engineers, like all the issues they go through, all the like stress that they have, all the different stages of a startup. Uh, it's all like so true. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have watched that show like at least 5 times in the span of last 3, 4 years. It's exactly like every single time I revisit that show, there is some nuances or some detailing or some relevancy that I associate with right now as we are going through our masters and our projects and everything. But yeah, it's a good suggestion for everybody who wants to understand a little bit of dynamics and demography of the Silicon Valley, how investor meetings are done, how product is being built, how co-founders are being assembled. It's a beautiful show. I guess everybody has
Yeah,
to take a
yeah, yeah.
All right.
And
So, um, like testing an AI product, that too, like a complex AI product, like a TwinMind, like a TwinMind app, which is marketed as a second brain, like Jarvis for yourself. How did you validate your market? What were the measures that you took to validate your market? You had an idea of what were the market, what were your target audience, and did you do an A/B testing for it, or how was it?
so we started by doing that survey I mentioned, where all these anonymous people, like some 68% of them said they would like want a tool like this, gave us some initial hint. And I also gave it to my friends that script and they found it useful. So we had some idea it will be useful, but then when as we started building, I don't think we gave it, we had a bait. So we started building this app, and my co-founders had never built an iPhone app before, but he was able to figure it out quickly. Like we can build a prototype in like a few days, 2 3 days. He was able to build the first iPhone app using ChatGPT, Claude, and all that quickly. Right? You don't have to make a polished product. You can just use AI to build a prototype. And we gave it to like some few hundred beta testers, like people we knew, some of our investors, some of our co-workers from other previous companies, and like we saw that all the problems they had, so we kept talking to them. We Another thing is we are also building an app that we are using ourselves. We have a lot of meetings, we have a lot of conversations. I'm using it to talk while I'm talking to my parents, my wife, my co-founders. So it's an app that we are using daily. So that we are lucky, because if you're building a B2B app for some company that have like a app for doctors, you don't know how good it is unless you're talking to a doctor every day. But in our case, we're building an app for even ourselves. I am using it every day. I think I have captured some 5,000 hours, 8 months of my life. And so I can see like what are the things going wrong. We're using it every day. So we already knew it was useful for us, which is the good position to be in. Um, I think you'll also have more motivation if you're building something you're using every single day.
Great. So you
Yeah.
had that in your mind when you were developing like a final polished product before shipping, right? This is the target audience, and then I need to cater these set of features and these set of product style to the target audience as such, right?
The target audience were ourselves, so it was easy. And like our friends. Yeah. Yeah. But if for other apps, I think you're talking to the users, talking to them every day, understanding, sitting with them, like going and like living with them, or going to their work, following them, see how they go through their life would be useful. We never did that at that level, but watching a lot of people use the app was very useful. So giving a prototype to them and see how they use it. So we did a lot of that. And when we talked to users, we did some hundreds of user interviews, and we should have done more. We did it too late.
So if you had to specifically select the highest proportion of your users, what demography would they fall into? What type of users are they?
So I think 50 60% are like just people in meetings, like professionals in like employees of companies and CEOs and even investors and so on, like professionals. Maybe 25 30% are students who use it to. So our students were actually one of our first use case. Like in the beginning, a lot of our users were students, because were like they wanted a free app. We're the only free app that lets you transcribe as many lectures as you want, and then say create a study guide, or like create a bunch of flashcards, or like quiz for me to recap my lecture, or right before your exam you can be like create a cheat sheet based on everything the professor said this semester. So we actually had some really loyal students early on. One of them we actually ended up hiring. uh, like a couple of them we ended up hiring because they were actually super users. They had not missed a single lecture. They had been compiling everything into study guides and turning it into PDFs, sharing it with their class. So we actually talked to these users. We liked some of them, and we hired a couple of them as interns. And
Oh,
then
great.
that actually helped, because then they also like kept building the product that they wanted.
That's great. So, that's also, I think, one way students can also get into an intern as being an intern or an employment in a TwinMind. Just go on, download the app, use it like anything, and Daniel is looking at it. So if you guys are using it properly, and then every lecture, everything, he's gonna call you for an interview.
Almost everybody we hired this summer. I think we got 850 applicants this summer for our internship. Actually, 850 applicants for a software intern role, like 300 applicants for like design, marketing. So over like 1,000 applicants. So there's like really no way for us to know how to, we can't even have the time to review 1,200 applicants. So what we actually did was we opened up So first we asked them to give feedback of what they liked about TwinMind. So they had to fill in a Google form about what they liked about the app, how they use it, what are some ways they think that we can improve the app. And then we opened all of their LinkedIn profiles, all of their like CVs, and all of their responses to this form in different browser tabs. Like I just opened them all at once and then asked TwinMind, who should we hire? And then TwinMind itself had all that context about everything, and it knew the job that we were looking for from its memory. So it actually knew it had narrowed it down to like 50 people. So that's how we actually ended up hiring, and then we interviewed them.
Great. So that's like a small trick for you guys. Just go right now itself, download the app and use the extension, and you get an interview call as soon as possible. But moving on to the next question, like I realized that like a lot of products, especially the AI products this time, gives the custom option for the users to choose the model that they want to, right? I noticed that your product did not allow the users to choose a custom model, but your product knew already which model to use the best. Is that like a conscious decision to have for you to create a product that you know exactly without overcomplicating things, exactly what the user needs, just simple as possible?
So now the latest version of TwinMind does have the ability to choose your own model if you want. But like we wanted to have like a automatic way of doing it. So TwinMind automatically selects the best model. So that's the default. If you want, you can now go in and change it, but most people don't. So if you go open the app somewhere, there's like a button that lets you pick the model. It's like a little hidden button.
Oh,
I never use it. Like we automatically route it to either. So how TwinMind works is like underlying model is we don't build it. We don't train our own model. It costs like $1 billion to do it. It's not, and all these models are a commodity. There is no big difference. It doesn't matter if you use ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, um, and like DeepSeek or whatever. They're almost the same these days. The responses are almost the same. Sometimes you'll get a better response with Gemini, sometimes you'll get it with ChatGPT, but on average, they're all the same. So what matters is giving it the right context. So that's why our model is about collecting the right memories, the right meetings, and feeding that into the existing models. And we have another model. So we have one model that picks the best model, depending on the type of query, and another model that picks the best memories, the best meetings, the best history of your chats to
mhm,
feed into that query. So if
mhm.
you say like create a pitch deck for my investors based on everything that happened last month, it will go and find all the updates that happened last month from all my meetings and all my conversations. That model is our own model, and then it will send it. The final response is generated by any of these big LLMs.
LLMs.
Yeah.
That's cool because I personally like that kind of like the front like that because I know with Cursor all the other apps you can select the models that ever you want, but those are very specific driven, right? And this one has a specific use case apart from that, and I don't think that complication it needs to be there in the app, and it works
Yeah.
out flawlessly. I don't have to worry about what model to select and what model is the best. I don't have to do the comparison. That is already been done by yourself, and
Yeah.
then
And every
put it
month
for
we
the user.
update this. Every month we look at the leaderboard and we like see what model is doing good at which task. So our automatic routing happens to that. So if Gemini is currently the best at coding task and Claude is the best at writing, we'll automatically decide based on the query and pick that model on the LM Arena leaderboard.
Okay. So, like now that we have talked about context injection, right? Like, so building a product that is so personal and handles sensitive information is a huge deal, right? So, how was your privacy first commitment, like on device processing and no audio recording, inside, like storing the audio recording? How did it influence your roadmap? And then what are the technical implementation and choices that you had to make while implementing that?
So this is like one of the hardest things we had to do from the beginning because all the other apps, if you looked at any meeting note app like Otter, Granola, Fireflies, all of them, if you don't have internet, it doesn't work, right? They all have to record the audio and send the entire audio to the internet on their servers, and they even train on your data. Like Otter, Granola, all these companies train their models on your data by default, unless you're on like a business enterprise plan and you have to pay more. But by default, most users are on the standard plan and they are training on all your data. So we wanted to build an AI like Jarvis that's always on and to get people to like leave it on all day instead of clicking start, stop, which is what most people do today. But we see more and more people are like trusting us to leave it on all day. And then we'll automatically split it into different meetings. So to do something like it has to be really built from the ground up to be fully private. So that's why we have two models. We have a model that if you want it to not be backed up on the cloud, it can run on device. But most only 2-3% of people do that, because if you break your phone, you will lose all your data, right? So you want it to be backed up on the cloud. And even if you back up on the cloud, it's all encrypted and all that. But if you have a very private meeting you're about to have with like your spouse or someone, you can always turn off the backup for that meeting. So that meeting or like that conversation only stays on your phone, the transcript and the summaries. So it's not even, but it doesn't get synced across devices. So there's a pros and cons. If you want it to be synced across devices and you want to be able to like chat with it later and so on, you want to turn on the backup for those meetings. And if you want something super confidential, you can turn off the backup. So we give people the control.
So how did you come up with like privacy was going to be a major concern in the app? Was it
Yeah.
between the confidential meetings that you were personally having yourself?
Yes, and even like most people, they don't want to leave something on all day if like they're being recorded. So first decision we made is never to record the audio. So like
So
use like the audio is never recorded. If you want, you can record it if you go deep into the settings and you have to turn on the audio recording, only then it's recorded. Otherwise, it's transcribed on the fly. So only the transcript, the words are saved and the summaries. And that does not hold up any validity in court. So you can't be sued for something you say because the text can be easily edited. Anyone can say you said anything, right? I can say you said something controversial right now by editing this transcript. So that way, that gives you the peace of mind, like you can't be sued or like the government can arrest you for something you said or whatever. And the second thing is we build it from native Swift, like low level iOS Swift code and C code to not to be super efficient, does not drain your battery. It can run all day and it doesn't make continuous network calls to the internet, which kills your battery, unlike all these other apps.
so so like I remember when last a couple of weeks back I was giving a guest I was a guest speaker in a class, AI and business class of our advisor. And then I was talking about TwinMind, and my professor asked whether does it have a privacy settings. And until all the other apps, I was like, I don't know, maybe there would be or something like that. But with TwinMind, I was really sure about it because I remember looking at the website and I was just like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, like in terms of privacy and everything. And I told everyone that it does not. You have the privacy settings. You can enable that if you are thinking that you are handling with the confidential data. And so that's I think that's very useful feature for everybody that is using in different use cases.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also don't train on anybody's data. We don't train any models on any user data.
Yeah. So and I remember thinking when I came before I came to US for my masters, and when I got introduced to ChatGPT, I mean, like with everybody else, right? I was thinking like prompt engineering would be the next game, right? Like if you can prompt it right, you can articulate it really well, you can know what to prompt and how do you want the formatted output, and all those things. But within just a span of 1 year, right, everybody got on board with prompt engineering. Everybody's are now, in a way, prompt engineers. And once you start using all these foundational models, you get an understanding of how to treat each models and how to approach each models. But the biggest challenge after what do you call like submitting the prompt engineering mountain was the bigger mountain was context management. This
Yeah.
was the biggest problem like I personally was having, because this was very frustrating and irritating when you're in the middle of an implementation or you're in the middle of a research or something, and the only way for you to get around with that is to copy paste the entire context that was previously you had generated and then put it up in a new chat window and hoping that your conversation can resume from there. Solves it really well, completely. So how was the implementation of context? Was it an architectural implementation, or is there any other technical implementation that you did for this context management?
So that was something we actually built. That's something we actually build ourselves, like how to like retrieve the right memories, the right like relevant to your query. So we have gigantic amount of data. So let's say you leave this on for like a year, right? You have now like captured like 365 times, like whatever 10 hours a day. That's a huge amount of data. So it's like probably like millions of tokens, tens of millions of tokens. So we cannot search the LLMs won't be able to fit all that data into their context window. So we have to, given your query, what there's a bunch of steps. Like, have you seen that Inside Out movie? Right. So you have your core memories, then you have your
Yeah.
short-term memories, then you have your long-term memories that are scattered far away. And so we
Yeah.
build something like that, whereas every day, as you capture, it decides whether something is important, whether something is not important, then it's stored in long-term memory. If something is important, it's stored in core memories. And then at every night, it is organizing your memories in a way that it is organizing it by project, by people, by things. So this is something we're still building. It's not as good as we want it to be yet, but it's getting better. So as long as you capture the memories, the retrieval will only get better with time. So for a
Right.
new user who only has 1 month of memories, meetings, it's fine. It'll be able to handle that. But as you use it for 2, 3, 4 months, our
So, so, so,
our model is also getting better and better at capturing uh, and like retrieving the right memories.
right. And like the larger picture over here, it seems like you are going to be the gatekeeper of personal individual memories, right? Like, what's the next step in your app? Like, what would it be? Are you gonna resurrect someone who is deceased in a way that you can actually install the context and of that deceased person and have a live animated human being talking to you?
I mean, you can do so many things with this data, right? Like, I don't know if you've seen Black Mirror, they like
Yeah,
revive somebody who's dead. But
yeah,
I think the more, like, there is a video from Steve Jobs from 1983 where he was saying, like one day people will have a device that they carry around. This is before the internet, before like all of these things, before the Mac, before the Windows and all that. It's like one day people have a device they carry with them their whole life. And like even not long after they're gone, others would be able to ask questions to that person and get a reply. Like so when the next Aristotle comes and like,
yeah,
he uses the device all year, all his life, and then even if he's gone people will still get the same responses like from that person. So it's almost like an AI clone of that person. So you can clone anybody. You can ask, it will be fun to clone Steve Jobs and ask him a question. Actually,
yeah.
sometimes at the end of my day, I have all these meetings and then I have to make a decision. And sometimes I ask TwinMind, like, what would like Elon Musk do or what would Steve Jobs do in this situation? All right. And it gives like a pretty good answer. Uh, so it's almost like TwinMind is building itself because it's listening to these meetings and telling us how to do each feature, how to write. It's writing a lot of the code. It's also telling us how to make product decisions, acting from different perspectives. So it's like, but yeah, so there's lots of different ways this can go. Um, and it doesn't have to be just one, right? We can do many things. So you can also, um, if you want to, if when you're sleeping, you can have your AI clone work for you. If there's a bunch of tasks you don't want to do, like all this grunt work, you can have your AI clone do it, and you will trust it to do it in the same way you would do it because it has observed you for like a year and it knows how you make decisions, how you think, what context you have, like your unique memories are what makes you different from others. So if TwinMind has it, it will also make decisions in the same way, think in the same way. So you can scale yourself. You can have like a 20, 100,000 versions of you working on different things.
That's great. I think the groundwork that you're laying out for here is a very crucial one for oneself to save and procure their memory at whenever they want to do that. And I can see this thing integrated into even the OS or your phone OS or any other tools for that matter, wherein which it can have the context of your personal previous work or meetings or any other memories that is associated of work or even academics. Like it's very much getting close to as all the everyone says there is this one movie that everybody always relate to, which is Her, right? In the
Yeah.
movie Her, how the brain works, how Samantha works, and how it all functions all together. The only thing that is missing over there from a proper OS is the context of you yourself, right? Even though my Windows can read my files, it does not really know what it means to do, what it needs to do, right? So if you install that context over here, which you have been securing since, let's say I've been using this app since 6 months, right? If I end up using it for 5 years, I have 5 years worth of my memory, which also makes this app very sticky for you as a for me
Yeah.
as a user, right? I cannot leave this app thinking that I can build my 5 years context. That's virtually impossible to do.
Yes, and people who don't start capturing their life today are going to have a disadvantage over people who start capturing the like, who do it later. They'll have an advantage over people who capture it later because the more it like, let's say tomorrow, like some super intelligent AI comes, you don't really have enough data to teach it what you like, what your values are, what your principles are, what your traditions, your like the way you think and all of that, your philosophy of life. So the people who and like all the data, like even like how your dynamics is with each person in your life, all the context you have about all your investors, about each of your employees, right? Let's say imagine today if our chief of staff, who is like my classmate from IIT Bombay, if he quits today, like and we hire another person who's as smart as him, it's not going to be the same because he's been working with us for a year. He has all the data about our company, all the knowledge about every person, all the things about what each of us like, dislike, all the interactions we had with investors and all this. So like what makes an employee so important or like a person and your teammate so important is the memories that you had over the last like years, right? And that memory, the law, so it will be feel the same way if tomorrow a really smart AI comes and I don't have that memories to feed it. It'll be
It does
hard to
not
get
it
it to
does
be
not
as good.
matter. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be just like hiring a new employee who's smart but
correct.
doesn't have any context.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like I even read in an interview that you spoke about your eventual game plan is to maybe even have a memory API, which can
Yeah.
be integrated with various sources and various integrations, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the problem right now is that if I go use ChatGPT and whatever I type in there, only ChatGPT has that memory. And
Yeah.
then tomorrow I go to Claude and I ask a question, that memory is not transmitted. Then I go write an email, that memory is not connected to Chat. All is like, and then I go write a Google Doc or I write Notion. It's like right now each company has their own AI that has its own different seal like a different, uh, just a bucket of memory that's isolated from the others, right? So it's like we want to be like a company that connects to every device, every app, every product, every person will have all their memories accumulated in one place. And then they can, then if in the future, let's say there are AI agents that do different things, like an AI agent that books a trip, an AI agent that creates like a pitch deck, right? So if we can plug in this common memory to each of those agents, and then those every agent will be better. So TwinMind can be the memory agent for every other agent
Right.
that does all your tasks.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. When I heard about it, I knew that was kind of like, I mean, before I had the perception of what TwinMind could do, it was a simple AI note-taking app. But after I realized that it's not just a note-taking app that you're capturing over here, right? You're capturing everyone's individual layer of memory, and then you can use that memory layer, and like the personal user can use that memory layer to even more efficiency and productivity on their phones, on their laptop. You connect it with it much, it becomes much more smarter as opposed to going for a bigger GPU or opposed to going for a bigger CPU or something like that. It just needs to be smarter as opposed to being the fastest, right?
Yes, and like we don't even build like the underlying LLMs. LLMs are going to have higher and higher IQ. Just like, like in the 1980s, like IBM and Intel and all these Motorola, all these companies are building the faster and faster chips.
Hmm.
Right, the chips are getting better and better, but the companies that actually made all the money was like I think Apple and Microsoft. They did not build chips; they just build the mouse and like the Windows and the operating system and the memory, like the hard drive and the like the RAM and all of that stuff. They put it together in a package, and the final package is what makes all the difference, not how fast the chip is. So today, like everybody's racing to build the best chip, right? Spending billions of dollars and like making the IQ of this LLM higher and higher, but without the memory and the hard drive and all the UI and the personality and the operating system, it wouldn't feel that good.
Yeah, that's true. Very
Yeah.
true. And moving up to like the talents in your company, right? Like as a startup, the biggest assets are your key talents that you can really contribute to your growth, right? So how do you pick your talents? Like, and what skills are you personally looking for in candidates that are applying for various positions in your company?
So hiring is actually the hardest thing to do, I think, for a startup because um, it's first of all like you want people who are like not just there for 9 to 5, right? You want people to work really hard for like 4 years or 5 years and to get this to be like a $1 billion company or more. And that means like working, we all like the founders and like the founding team all like are working like, 24/7, like at least like 80 hours a week, something like that. So we all live. So we got this house here in Menlo Park, in like right next to Stanford and Sand Hill Road where all the VCs are. We got this big house. It has a cottage in the back where my wife and I live. And then we have this main house, like 6 bedroom house where half the team lives and the other half commutes here. And we have like, you can like see, like we have all this like, uh,
Yeah.
we have all these bedrooms we've converted like to offices, and like we have even our remote employees fly here 1 week every month so that we have that in-person time. So this should feel like a very like single united team. It's when I worked at places like Google and JP Morgan, it didn't feel like that.
Mm.
Everybody was just here to chill and like work 9 to 5, get a little bit done really slowly, like no rush, do a 6 month project, 1 year project. And like they have that mentality, right? That's why a lot of startups don't want to hire people from these big companies.
Mm.
Um, because that's a different mindset. The way you get ahead is by getting promoted, right?
It's
You
what.
get like a 10% raise if you get promoted, or 20% raise. But even if you build $1 billion company inside Google, or $10 billion company inside Google, it's not going to change the Google stock price.
Yeah.
Google stock price is 1 trillion, and you add another 10 billion, you still get 1.001 trillion, right? It doesn't make any difference. So that's why people at these big companies are not really motivated to make their project succeed, to like they're more interested in getting promoted by selling the project.
Okay.
So a lot of people that we hire, like we have actually made this mistake. I think hiring is very hard, and we are looking for like the really top 1% of people who are really passionate, who are not just working for, like getting promoted or like anything like that. They like love what they're doing and they want to make this company blow up. And they're willing to, it's really hard. You have to like sacrifice a lot of things. You have to work late, you have to work weekends, you have to have that mindset. And the other thing is, we also don't look at anyone's GPA or anything like. So, I mean, my GPA at IIT Bombay and like the University of Illinois was like some 3 out of 4, or like some 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, something like that. So it's really low, right? Because like and this is, and even my co nobody in our team, like we've never even looked at anybody's GPA anytime we hired any candidate. Even when I was interviewing people while I worked at Google and JP Morgan, we were not looking at people's GPAs. So we were looking at what have they done before? Like,
Mm.
have they built some product? Have they got like some GitHub project with 1,000 stars? Or have they like that other people use? Have they like launched something that got 10,000 users? Have they created this really cool prototype of something they can show me that they worked on in their free time? Because, and
It's
or like
what.
have they won some great hackathon or won some great award? So that's the kind of things we're looking for. A lot
So
of people have
basically,
4 out of 4 GPA. Like maybe like in the US, almost everyone who's applying has like really good GPA.
not me. I'm gonna send you my resume again.
It doesn't
But
matter.
yeah,
Like, yeah, the
it's.
attitude, I think is the passion, the attitude, and like so we make everyone do like really hard, like coding challenges, not lead code. Like lead code is also useless. We never do lead code interviews. We only make them do like real projects, like try to build this thing or try to build that. And like, and we look at how much they're able to build. So,
And
and use AI. They have to use AI. We hired like an iOS engineer with 15 years of experience one in the early stage, and we had to like, we had to like, cancel his contract because he was not using AI. These days, even if you have 15, 20 years of experience, that's good. As long as you also use that experience with AI to move even faster.
right.
On the other hand, we get all these students who have only used AI to code, and they can get 80% of the way there, and then the last 20%, they have no idea what to do because they don't have the solid understanding of the code. So you need to have that balance, right? You have to have a thorough understanding of all the code, and
Mhm.
then AI is like having an army of interns that help you move faster.
Right. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So it's all about building. That's one thing that we always specify in our club whenever we have our meetings and everything is just build. Right now there are tools that are available for you, and we have Cursor for free for students. And just go around and build whatever that idea that pops into your mind. Right now, it might not even take that much long that previously it would have taken for a developer to build any project or for that matter, right?
it doesn't cost anything either. Like all these companies like Google and OpenAI, Microsoft, they all have these programs for startups. You just go apply, paste in your LinkedIn profile, say you're working on some idea. They'll give you like 10,000, $20,000 in Google Cloud credits, which you can use for all the API, Gemini API calls. If you apply to Microsoft, you get Microsoft Azure credits you can use for OpenAI calls, right? 10,000, 20,000. So the cost of building anyone anywhere in the world can build something. It doesn't cost them as long as they have internet and a laptop, right? They
Yeah,
can build a company, scale it to 100,000 users. With $20,000, you can get like, 10,000 users. And like then you can easily raise money, right? So there's no barrier, and you can also teach yourself anything. Like I have never taken a course in computer science or machine learning. Or my co-founder Sunny has done his PhD in astrophysics, never built an iPhone app before, never studied computer science or machine learning. Everything you need to know was already there on YouTube like 10 years ago, right? It's what all the Stanford lectures, MIT lectures,
yeah,
is Harvard lectures are on YouTube. You can just watch it and learn. And now it's even easier. You have ChatGPT, Claude. You just need to ask it and like understand like how does this like system design work and like how to solve this lead code problem or whatever. You can just learn the fundamentals.
that's true.
So, as we are looking for people who have taught themselves how to do things. Anyone
Yeah,
can learn stuff by if a professor is teaching them
yeah,
and it's like explaining it step by step. But we want to see people who have learned stuff without anyone teaching them because then they can keep learning.
that's true. That's very true. That's the philosophy that we try to put out in our club as well to all the members that we have. And yeah, this is a question that I think every other students and every other members in our club is also wanting to know. So as a CEO of an emerging AI startup, right, you're not just building a product, you're building a company in a very dynamic environment. So let's talk about navigating uncertainty. If you were to face a sudden, let's say, a major government policy or new regulations around AI or significant shifts in hiring skilled talent, how would you as a startup leader steer TwinMind through that? Like, what's your framework on staying agile, continuing to attract the right people when the rules of the game can change just overnight?
I mean, I think even an entire process of a startup, like everything is changing overnight, right? Like every day is like different. You have to learn so many different things. Like the entire startup, first few years of a startup is just fully uncertain anyway. It's not like these things will make it that much different, right? Like to when you start a company, you have to learn so many different things and you have to navigate so many things, right? For example, setting up a like so first thing to get convincing people to quit their job, setting up a bank account, getting incorporating the company. There's no one there's no course that teaches you all these things, right? You just have to figure it out every day. Like and then so you have to like incorporate a Delaware C corp. You have to like to figure out what all these investment terms mean. So you have to learn some legal stuff, right? To like all these safe investments and like pricing rounds and all this like cap and like post money valuation, pre money valuation. You have to just keep having that mentality, just like figure out something every day. Then you have to like there's so many things. You have to get an accountant, you have to have monthly balance sheet, you have to like manage finances. You have to once you've raised money, you have to like put some of it in like a treasury so you can earn interest on it. Then you have to have enough in your checking account. You have to do payroll, right? So you just have to be open to learning something completely from scratch every single day. Like you have to get an office, you have to figure out how to lease an office, you have to like pay or like get set up Wi-Fi, you have to do all these things, right? And to get like a coffee machine for the employees. Or one day somebody's like, I don't have health insurance because all of us had health insurance through like our university or like our spouse. But like one employee will come and say they don't have health insurance. And then now you have to figure out how to get health insurance for an employee. Then you have to file taxes, California taxes, you have to file Delaware taxes, you have to get a tax lawyer, you have to just every day is like an uncertainty anyway. All these issues keep popping up, right?
But that's
There's a
again like
thousand
about,
things you need to do to start
yeah,
every
problem
company.
solving, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
one by one, checking
Yeah.
off the box and just solving one by one at a time.
How to buy a domain name, how to like set up your like GitHub and like how to do it securely, how to get a database, how to get authentication, how to uh like what are they buy a domain name, create a website, you have to learn how to make a website, you have to learn how to email all your users, you have to learn how to uh get Apple to approve your app in the App Store.
Yeah,
Yeah, so many things.
great. And
Yeah.
one final question. What's like this is for the members that we have, right? So what suggestions or course of action would you have for all our AI enthusiasts seeking for a professional career? If someone is at beginner level, what do you recommend them to start right now? They could be for any particular job, right? But right now, since the AI has come over and there are a few things that can be automated using AI, we all know that. And then few jobs can be improved. So few jobs are going to get optimized in different way. But how do we stand out from all these things that we are seeing right now in the job market?
So I think, well, like I mentioned before, if you have built, like just building stuff, showing people what you have built, right now the barrier to building something is zero, right? If you have some free time, you have a laptop and internet, you can just start building something using Cursor, Lovable, or Superbase or whatever. Superbase comes with authentication database, edge function, serverless. Just build it fast and like try to like build something useful, and you can post about it on Twitter, Product Hunt, whatever, get people using it. And then you can, or like we had some people who applied to TwinMind saying like, hey, I made a marketing video for TwinMind that was so good. So we just hired that person. Or like I made this, I recreated your TwinMind app from scratch on Android. So we hired that person. And or like I recreated like your TwinMind Chrome extension, but I made this feature better and like stuff like that. So if you're just sending a company a version that is slightly better than what they have in one area, there's already proof that you understand it thoroughly. So
Great.
so you could just be making GitHub projects, putting it out there, posting about it on LinkedIn, saying I built this, you should try it out, or
Great.
competing in hackathons. Uh, I
Great.
don't think courses matter that much anymore.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah, because back in IIT Bombay, I actually never even went to a single lecture. At UIUC, I was mostly doing research, so I didn't go to lectures. So, but what matters is like, how can you stand out from everybody else? Everybody is going to lectures. Everybody
Yeah.
else is getting a GPA. Everybody else is doing these things. So how do you stand out? You have to be being good at one thing is better than just being like everybody else, right? So if you have among 800 applicants, what is the one sentence you can say? If I get an email saying like, hey, like I like really love TwinMind, I've like built this like thing and I got like, here's the link. Can you try it out? Or I built this other app that's used by 20,000 people or got 10,000 stars on GitHub. If I get an email like that, obviously I'm going to look at that candidate in more detail.
Okay. So it's all about building with critical thinking and then making yourself stand out amongst the pool of application that's obviously flooding the market, right? So now
Yeah.
that you said like there is zero entry for creating projects right now with all these tools at our disposal, and there is no excuse for you to now sit around and not create anything, right? If you want to take up an employment or even pursue whatever you like, or even an entrepreneurial career like you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. You can also apply to YC and like just go and just submit an idea, get some friends together. Even that also, if you can, there's a lot of these accelerators, right? Y Combinator, Neo, HF0, Techstars, there's all that. So even like straight out of school, you can even go do your own startup because you have 3 years of OPT, even if you're an international student. So I was on OPT. You can actually build a startup in your OPT, and
Yeah,
if you get funded, and so there's like I have friends who did startups in their OPT and then got into YC, got an O1 visa, and then kept going.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Daniel. Like we'll be now opening up for the Q&A for our members. I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of questions to ask. So let's go one by one, raise hands, and then take that up like that. Sounds good? All right. Who wants to ask? Yes, we have Nurul Ahad. Nurul, go ahead.
Thanks, Shin. I really would like to thanks Daniel for this nice presentation. We're really enjoying all the ins and outs regarding this AI app. So I just want to know, currently I saw that it is compatible with the Android or Apple device. Will there be in the future for desktop version? Uh,
Yeah, so right now you can use it on desktop if you have a if you get a Chrome extension. So you can the iPhone app and your Android app, everything syncs to your browser Chrome extension. So you can see the same meeting notes in both places. You can also, the Chrome extension can chat with all your browser tabs. So you can ask like, reply to this email based on my meeting today morning, and it'll work because it can see what you see.
Okay, wonderful. And one more question, like as a student of JSON, so will you be able to use pro version, I mean, as a discounted rate or something like that?
I mean, we are giving everybody the pro version right now. So like, if you download the app, it'll say it's a pro app. We haven't started charging money and we'll in the future we'll have a discount for students. But for now, everybody's getting it for free. We just call it pro uh, and say it's $15 a month on the website, but when you download it, it's actually free.
Okay, thank you very much.
Because we are getting like some $1 million in credits from Google Cloud. So
Right.
it doesn't really cost us anything to give it away for free. Once we run out of this, and maybe after Google, we can get another 1 million from Amazon and another 1 million from Azure. So, and any startup can get it. So once you have millions of users, you can worry about like revenue.
Excellent.
That's-
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's really great insight. Like to start up without worrying about an investment or with worry about your operational cost, right? And then providing the value, testing the market, validating it, and then going in the path of monetization later on. I think that's the perfect playbook, right?
Yeah. I mean, like if you look at any of these successful companies, right? Google, they did not monetize it until years later. They didn't even have ads for the first few years. Perplexity, ChatGPT are all like free in the beginning, and even now the free version is like almost the same. So even free version of ChatGPT is GPT-5, you get it for free. So and Facebook is free, WhatsApp is free. WhatsApp said it's $1 or something, but they never charged anybody that. Yeah.
Okay, Christian.
Sorry that I unblocked my camera, not my mic. Again, I just want to echo that same sentiment. Daniel, thank you for coming here and talking to us. And so I really appreciated just this whole talk. And I also really like how you said you set out with a goal to make this sort of like Jarvis. And definitely I can feel when you're talking that you definitely have that like passion in it. And so my question is that obviously you see TwinMind becoming literally people's second brain as it's in the name.
Yeah.
And if that's true in the future, I'm not actually, I shouldn't say that because I can already see it being right now. It could be one of the most valuable like assets and tools for people of all human history. So, how do you envision like scaling the product? How do you envision like scaling TwinMind just in the future?
You mean to like millions of users or in terms of the product itself?
Just in general to like the population, what do you think what is your how do you see it like expanding, whether with different features, new features, or with the just expanding it to the bigger population?
So we're still figuring it out. Like marketing is a whole different game, and we just started thinking about it. So like there is some like organic growth because each of your friends will like if you used to in mind you send the summary to your friends, like they will also see it and they might download it. But now we are like looking into marketing and like growth and like how can we like like work with like social media influencers, work with students, campus ambassador. So we're starting a campus ambassador program. We already have like all the top universities and like 70 for 80 universities in the US and also in India and other places. We already have users from 180 countries, which is like almost the entire world. We were just looking at amplitude. So now we just, since it works in so many languages, so we just now need to figure out some or like virality, and we're looking for like some features that encourages people to share. One feature is like if we have a meeting and we have a to-do list, I can assign that to do to someone. They would get that task if I tell my friend, okay, you have to remember to do this. They will get that task in their twin mind. If they don't have twin mind, they get an email. So we're like working on features like this. Uh, we also want to create like a public persona for every person. So let's say I want to borrow your brain. Let's say, like, I don't know, like I had a conversation with, let's say I want to ask like Elon Musk a question. Like if you could borrow his brain, his twin mind, and you can ask his twin mind a question, that would be cool. Or if I am not, I am away, I'm traveling for a week, my coworkers can then borrow my twin mind and ask it a question. And it won't reveal any personal memories, but only like publicly or like team memories. So we're like working on stuff like that. So you should be able to borrow anybody's brain and talk to them. But we still don't know what will actually end up driving that virality.
Awesome. And if I
But
may, can I just ask one more question?
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you mentioned that while you were a PhD student, you were already telling people that AI could eventually do astrophysics, and then obviously one of those conversations led to you meeting one of your co-founders. And obviously, all the credit to you and like your, I guess you could call it technical like ability to predict the future. But the thing that really stood out to me was having your conviction and being able to say it, even though not many people around you believe it. And so, what was, I guess, my final question would be, where do you kind of get that conviction, and what advice would you give to other people who are, you know, brave of the entrepreneurial type that want to do the things you kind of do?
I think a lot of people don't even want to believe that AI could eventually be smarter than them. I think they don't want to even believe that could be true, right? So they're biased. Like most people I talk to are like, no way, like humans are like so special, like they are like so much smarter than all the other animals or anything. So like I think that was a reason why nobody was like, oh yeah, humans are creative, humans can write art and poetry and stories, and AI could never do it back then. But I was always like a human brain is like only like this big, and it accidentally evolved from just like random mutations, and out of like millions of life forms we just had some random tiny differences from a chimpanzee, and that caused this much leap in intelligence, right? Like a chimpanzee brain and human brain is like tiny differences, even less differences than GPT-2 and GPT-4, right? So like if the tiny difference can cause explosion in intelligence. And I saw this great talk by Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil has been predicting this for like 30 years. He has a plot on like intelligence or compute versus year going back to like 200 years ago. And you can see it's on a log exponential curve. So on log scale, it looks like a perfect line. And if you plotted how many calculations are happening in the human brain, like you have about 100 trillion neurons. Whereas like I think GPT-5 has like maybe a trillion neurons. So we are still like only 1% of a human brain, and it's already able to do so much. So that curve, if you projected it by 2029, back in 2015, you could have seen that by 2029, the amount of compute that we'll be able to run will be as big as a human brain. So this talk was actually very convincing. Uh, and we are actually like perfectly on trajectory according to Ray Kurzweil. And he's predicted that in 2005 or something like that. So I mean, I just was lucky, and I don't know, maybe I was uh, right place, right time. And AI was also doing really well. You know, deep in 2010, we were able to detect cats and dogs and planes and stuff better than humans with that AlexNet 2000. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Okay, so let's keep one question at a time. So when we have time left, then we can round up for another set of question. Sakit Erni, you wanna go? Sakit Erni has raised her hand. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was talking on mute.
Okay.
So yeah, hi Daniel, and so thank you so much for the session. It was so intuitive, and thank you for giving out all the secrets on building something big. So yeah, thank you so much. So starting with my question, so while building something new and starting something from scratch and releasing it as a pilot version, so it is a huge step. And like, what are the legal and compliance foundations that you are like have to take a look on? So we can do stuff, but still like there are laws behind it, like what can be done, what cannot be done, and how to navigate through those steps is something like how to start with that part of the equation.
So this is now much easier than ever before, right? Because we haven't even like in the big, we used to talk to a lawyer, but now we found that like all these AI models like ChatGPT, Claude, all of these things are actually better than most lawyers. And better, and there's already benchmarks showing that at diagnosis, it's better than most doctors. At the bar exam, LSATs, even like legal benchmarks, it's better than most lawyers. So like it is, I mean, there are some lawyers who are better, some mathematicians who are better, like some doctors who are better, but you are probably going to be getting an average lawyer if you go out and try to find
Okay.
someone to ask. So you might as well just ask ChatGPT, right? So most of these things, it is actually giving. I had many situations where our lawyers actually said wrong facts that then
Mhm.
ChatGPT corrected regarding my visas or whatever. Or like setting up the company. So it's good to even double check everything a lawyer or someone says with ChatGPT anyway. Um,
Okay.
so so I think you can figure it out much easier than before. Previously, it was all like really hard to navigate these legal stuff. But now, yeah, starting a company, incorporating it, Y Combinator has a lot of resources on how to do it. There are platforms like Stripe Atlas and Clerkey that will incorporate everything and do all the paperwork for you. These are other startups that help you create startups. There are bank accounts for startups that are very easy to set up the moment you incorporate it, like Mercury Bank. So it's getting easier and easier to navigate this.
Yeah, so that's great to know. So at what point we should be like more aware of all these things? So even when we are like distributing the pilot version, when you are saying about you started giving out the prototype to your friends and colleagues to work out. So is that the stage you are like thinking about legal and like
No,
stuff?
you don't need to do anything. You don't even need to register anything until you actually uh, are trying to get money, right? Until like so, you getting free credits from Google, like $10,000. You don't even need to incorporate your company, do any legal paperwork. You can just apply with your LinkedIn profile and an idea, and you'll get the money. You can set up your server. You can create an app. It's not even illegal to do because you're not like making money. It's just like a project, right? So
Yeah.
like if you do want like visa sponsorship and so on, then you need to incorporate a company.
Okay. Okay. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
But yeah, as a
Thank you, Daniel.
student, we have plenty of students who are like doing projects for fun, really launching an app, getting users. They're not trying to make revenue or money. So it's
Mhm.
still not illegal to do, right? They're not like doing it for money, they're just doing it for fun to learn something. And once it takes off, like once Facebook took off is when Zuckerberg actually incorporated it. Once it had
Yeah.
like all of Harvard using it.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Vijay?
So, hi Daniel. First of all, thank you for your session. So, I just have a basic doubt. Like, I don't have much professional work experience yet. So, since you mentioned that background really plays an important role in hiring, do you think this could make it harder for me to land a job or start a project?
I think I mentioned like the background doesn't matter. I think the degree doesn't matter. The university, I don't even know which university our interns went to, or like what the GPA is, or where they studied, or like where they're from, or anything. Right? All we know is like what is the cool thing they built. So as long as you build something cool, and that I think yeah, instead of a resume being a gigantic document, it should be just like one cool thing that is very impressive. I think that's all you have time to read, right? So as long as you focus on doing one really impressive thing, a
Thank you
project
so
that a
much.
lot of people use, or some award, or winning a hackathon, or building a GitHub repo with 20,000 stars, or something like that.
Thank you so much. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's a very great idea, but I downloaded the app like earlier, probably a couple hours ago, and I looked into it and I also heard, what the idea is, what it's for. Um, I think it's very interesting, but I find it a little not so intuitive. Like,
Yeah.
for us, we're somehow AI-related students and people working in this industry. How would you promote this, to, for example, our parents who don't know anything about this? Because I was thinking about, for example, Apple as a, like a role model in this industry. Their products very intuitive. Even people who are sleeping on the street, they probably would dream of having an iPhone. So I wonder, is that kind of the goal to make this company become like that? You know, it's something so simple, so elegant, and everyone, you know, would just want it, or it's just
Yeah,
for, you know, more technical.
yeah. So that's why I mentioned when we were starting the company, we were all engineers, and like we did not uh, have enough experience building something that was like designed very intuitively or anything. We just thought about features, but like it's like a mistake everybody makes if you're a team of engineers. So now we are like trying to rebuild the whole UI, and we have hired like 4 designers, and we are like talking to users and like doing all the UI UX research and everything and trying to make it simpler and simpler. So this app is actually very unintuitive, and it's very complex, and it's hard to learn. And the more it's hard for us to know because we have been using this app for a year, so we can't think from the perspective of an entirely new
Yeah.
user. So this is a mistake a lot of people make. This is something that Apple did so well. This is why Steve Jobs was so good, even though
Yeah.
he didn't write any code. The design, I've learned that design is as important as engineering, if not more. Engineering is getting easier and easier with all these tools, Cursor and all that. It's ChatGPT, but design is still not getting easier and easier. You still need to have a great designer, Figma. You have to understand, think. You have to think through the UX. It's like not ChatGPT can't think through the entire UX flow of an app. It doesn't have eyes to see a video that and understand the full complex, all the branches and intuitiveness of an app that easily, and can't think in like it can't think. It can only maybe look at one screenshot and understand it.
Yeah, so you treat this app like ultimate goal would be like an art piece kind of thing, or it just gonna, you know, people use it inside this industry like more, you know, compared to Apple, like a more Microsoft Linux way.
No, we want this to be like something every person uses. It has to be feel seamless. That's why I like we're like our motto is like think together. We want human and AI to think together, and it shouldn't even feel like you are like talking to an AI. It should just feel like you're thinking yourself
Yeah.
with the AI. So that's why we want to make it so intuitive and like, and it's just getting started as we push out more features as AI gets better. We want this to feel like your thought partner or something like that.
Yeah, that is very romantic.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the only way humans can like keep up with AI, right? Because like after 2029, like I was all since 2015, I thought AI would be smarter than us by 2029. So now people are saying it will be in 2027. Uh, but even then, if human and AI are merged together with some really great UX, really great product that feels like you and your AI thoughts are seamlessly coexisting together, like you're seeing real-time ideas and your thoughts plus AI's thoughts, and you're like merged into one entity. Just like your phone is already feels like part of
Yeah.
yourself.
Uh-huh.
We want TwinMind to feel like a part of your memory and your brain,
I see. Thank you.
an extension of yourself.
Mm.
All right. We can take one more question? Anyone? All right, before everyone drop off from the meeting, just one small announcement is that we would be announcing our upcoming event after this session. So just stay for a couple of minutes after the session so we can just announce about it. Yeah, Dhwani.
Yeah, hi Ashwin. So just wanted to highlight first that there are a couple of questions dropped in the chat if we could address them really quick. And on top of that, I also had something I wanted to ask. So we were earlier discussing, how you reached out to your target audience, and you kind of validated your idea by sending out these anonymous polls, and then you gave your prototype to your friends to test. And I remember in that conversation, Daniel, you had taken an example of a more complex market for an engineer to be addressing, say, doctors, right? It's not necessarily a network that we're part of, and it's difficult to reach out to those people and kind of understand them, and it's difficult to also empathize with them as product people. I wanted to understand that if from simply a founder point of view, if your market or audience was to be a more further away kind of a profession, um, how do you suggest we tackle that strategy or narrow down on how we can relate with them, how we can understand them better?
I think it's like number one trait of a founder is to be completely shameless and just keep asking everybody, even if you keep getting rejected. So you
Mhm.
just have to keep asking, like if you ask like 1,000 doctors, can I like talk to you and like follow you around or like sit in with your sessions and like see your if you can build something to help you. I'm sure like some people would say yes, right? You just have to keep
Right.
asking and just be like completely shameless about it. Never, even if people reject you, it's okay. Um, just reach out. Even like you have to like reach out to. I had to talk to like maybe 50, 100 investors before getting the first check. You have to
Mhm.
like get a lot of negative feedback from users saying this app sucks before you build something they start using. You have
Yeah.
to get rejected by a lot of employees before you can hire somebody. Like a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I don't want to join," right? We had so many people who like backed out at the last minute because their parents are like, "No, don't leave your job to like join a startup." Uh,
Yeah.
so like you just have to keep asking people. And if I think Steve Jobs was also saying, right, even he was 12, he called up some HP CEO and was like, I want some parts for my computer or something. And he did give it.
Mhm.
So I'm sure if you ask doctors, some of them will say yes.
So, thanks for sharing that. A quick follow-up. Do you think there is something like an easy market and a difficult market, as a founder, when it comes to, say, product launches or marketing or like just the entire GTM phase per se? Are some markets more easy to launch into or certain audience more easy to kind of reel in than other audience?
So B2B companies are actually easier to do. That's why Y Combinator and all always like prefer B2B
Prefer
companies, almost
B2B.
all of them, because you
Mhm.
you just have to sell to one company, you'll get a lot of revenue. And
Right,
once they buy your product, they'll be more sticky. And you can
right.
actually just try to talk to some companies, see what their pain points are. They will tell you they're more willing to part with money. Like companies are willing to pay, like we pay for all these subscriptions, right? Like Canva, Figma, we pay for 10 employees, we pay hundreds of dollars every month, right? But as a consumer, you're not willing to pay anything, right? Like you don't want to pay for anything. People are trained not to
Absolutely.
pay. So some B2B companies are actually easier to start with and easier to get like some amount of revenue
Hmm.
and know exactly what they want and just build them one thing. And once they do it, they will keep using it. Consumer products are hard because
Right.
consumers have so much options and they keep leaving and there's no stickiness. But if it works out, the biggest companies are all consumer, right? Apple, Google, Tesla, Amazon. So they're all, I guess Oracle is pretty huge now. It's B2B. But yeah,
Yeah,
most of the, so I mean, everything is hard. I think doing a startup is anyway hard. So
definitely.
I don't think there is any easy market. If you have some domain knowledge in some area, it'll be easier. Like
Right.
if you are like working in supply chain for 10 years and want to start a company in that domain, you probably have a higher chance of succeeding.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if we have just one more minute, Ashwin, I'd like to highlight one of the questions from our students.
Yeah, quickly you can do that.
Yeah, all right. So, one of our students asking, what is your long-term vision for TwinMind? Are you focused on building it into a legacy brand, or is it a strategic acquisition part of the roadmap?
I mean, I want to keep going as far as possible. I mean, I'm not even taking any salary or anything. Like I have $0 salary. I'm just doing it for the fun of it and like equity and like like it's going to be it's like I want to do it for like a fun adventure. I don't want to get acquired by a company and then work there again. It'll be like going back to Google. I don't ever want to get a job again. So I don't think I depends if it makes sense at the time and that's the best way for the company to succeed. We might consider an acquisition, but I don't think that's our goal. I think the best acquisitions happen when the founders don't even want to sell,
That's very
right?
true.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can wind up. Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us and giving us an insightful journey about how your logical thinking was, how you build your product, what all challenges you faced. And this was clearly an insight for us students who are seeking to be product managers, AI enthusiasts, engineers, software developers, and every sort of field, right? Regardless of whatever diversification of field we are, I think we're all united by AI and the implementation it in business sense. And then you are a great example of how you took a proposition, how you created a product around it, and how you took it, and then like how you have invested in your talents rather than the infrastructure that I can clearly see. And that's the core of building an AI startup from the ground, right? And thank you so much for this loving session. And just we all loved and had a great fun talking about your product.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing. This was fun.